begin with the adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second that.
Chairman Hayman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director St. Amand,
Yes.
Director Vallejo,
Aye.
Director Etnier. Motion carries.
All right.
Okay, next we will have public comment on closed session. Do we have any public comment from the floor? Seeing none, do we have any public comment on the phones? There is none. So at this point, we will now move into closed session. I'll call the open session to order. And we will begin with a report out on closed session.
Good morning. This is council's report out of closed session. The board met in closed session on the 6 items indicated on the agenda. Conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 and conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Sections 549 and 56.9. The board took no reportable action on any of these closed session items. This concludes council's closed session report.
Thank you, Council. Now, if everybody will please rise and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll have roll call.
Chairman Hayman,
Present.
Vice Chair Peters,
Present.
Director St. Amand,
Here.
Director Vallejo, Director Vallejo, Director Etnier.
Present.
Okay, moving to item number 6, public comment. This time is reserved for the public to address the board about matters not on the agenda. No action will be taken on non-agenda items unless authorized by law. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have any public comment from the floor?
Judy Decker. Yes. You know, Don and I and Lyle Fisher and Wes Katzenstein and Renee Westelusk have been attending these meetings since they first began, and you met in the Spring Hill Suites. I remember distinctly the first board. The local members were Peggy Breeden, Peter Brown, and Mick Gleason. I'm bringing this up because one of the things that original board talked about was the importance of having a local office and a representative who was here locally as the manager so that the public would have someone to go talk to and that the manager could interact with the community on a personal basis. I think you need, as a board now, you've had many years going forward, I think you need to think about doing that because there is great political power, I repeat, political power in having a personal presence here where someone can go in and meet with the manager and discuss whatever it is they think they need to discuss. So please think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Sophia Merck. I would like to welcome you guys after waiting for an hour for you guys to be here. You often question why the public is not more involved. Well, this is one of the reasons. This board has not shown respect to the citizens of this valley. This time it was an hour. I waited one time an hour and 36 minutes. I think you need to apologize to the public. I understand you have a closed session, but you could stop the closed session, come out here, meet with your constituents, and let them know what's going on. There are people waiting on telephones that have given up most of their day so that they can provide input. You know, I'm a taxpayer. I also am a voter. I have respect for government, but this board does not show respect to us. I would like an apology. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wes Katzenstein, just a couple comments. First of all, I want to thank you folks. Been a lot of criticism of the stand that you folks have taken, particularly in these measures that are being considered by the state of California. Criticism by folks who are not here, have not been here, and maybe you have not spent the time to think about the real challenges between coordinating an adjudication and a groundwater authority. Coordination is not the right word. Deciding who really has the authority and the power to solve the problems in this state. So I want to thank you folks for doing that. A second comment I wanted to make is a neighbor of mine who I guess follows Facebook said there's an awful lot of chatter and stuff like that going on in social media that is not well founded in what's going on and what's happened here in this valley. And that's the challenge, I think, and the threat of social media. And one of the things when we wrote the engagement plan in the Policy Advisory Committee was that somehow there needs to be a beacon that we can put in place in social media that is a source of the facts and the truth, that doesn't necessarily engage itself in all the chit-chat that goes around, and perhaps that a presence in social media points to the webpage for in-depth information. So it's unfortunate that folks that cause so much chit-chat aren't here, haven't paid their dues, haven't stayed educated, and you guys get bruised a lot by the kind of comments that come from those kind of folks. Two things, thank you, and you know, social media somehow is a challenge, but I guess we knew that. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. Any other public comment from the floor? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the phones. Caller, go ahead. Caller, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Mike Senot. This is going to be a word salad. It won't make a lot of sense. SGMA was created in 2014 by Jerry Brown on behalf of UNESCO. Saving the World from Climate Change. Sierra Club, Public Policy Institute, Water Education Foundation, Save the Smelt, Restore the Land for Indigenous People, Let the Forest Burn. 15 of the largest wildfires in California history in just the last 15 years. Central Coast is burning. It's another mega fire. Destroy the desert, plant solar panels, mitigate with CEQA to get around NEPA. Land deals, desert tortoise be damned, net zero, repurpose the fallowed land, plant more solar panels, more windmills, tear down the dams that generate hydroelectric power, save the salmon runs, save the smelt. Stantec will fix it. Blue Mountain Development, real estate specialized deals with bureaucrats, for bureaucrats, and politicians. Grease the environmental impact skids, pay the attorneys. Capital Corps Group, lobbyists, raise capital for bonds, legislative go-between, influence peddling. Stantec, DEI, ESG, globalists, restoring rivers while making millions. New York Stock Exchange, ticker STN, up 300% in 5 years. Department of Water Resources, woke director, woke bureaucrats, rules, monitor wells, undesirable results, create 164 new GSAs, trust the science, trust DWR, intentions are good, save the world, fallow the land, eat bugs and die, transhumanism, AI, Water Education Foundation, fund the grants, groom the students, pay off the professors. CCP is listing, student visas in the hundreds of thousands. Desert Research Institute gets the grants, creates the models. DOD civilians living off base, no Federal Reserve water rights. Tribal members living off reservation, no Federal Reserve water rights. This is a big problem for DWR. Water district customers will have to pay up like everyone else, Searles Valley Minerals and the farmers. Capital Corps Group lobbied the legislatures, grease the skids, amend the flaws, tweak the law, AB 1413, bypass the judges, trust the science, don't litigate or adjudicate, attorneys cost too much, influence the science, make the rules. Searles SJV Water, woke DWR's mouthpiece, save the world, funded by foundation grants. Big farmers bad, community alliance farmers good.
Mike,
Mazza.
you need to wrap it up, sir.
Okay, I'll just name Regional Government Services Agency, Eric Boone, Ron Strand, LADWP, Inyo County's LADWP, San Bernardino County, Provost and Pritchard, Stetson Engineers, City of Ridgecrest, Philip Hall, Chief Lemieux, Kern County, and I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment from the phones? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to item number 7, board member comments. Do we have any comments from the board?
I want to thank Ms. Keegwin for a little more detail on the payment to the city of Ridgecrest. I wanted to update on when we can expect the 2023 audit.
I think that would fall under the consent agenda on the item, or is it? Are we
I can address that in my report.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board member comments? Okay, next we'll move to item number 8, consent agenda. This will consist of item 8A, approved minutes of special board meeting on July 16th, 2025, and items 8B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Any member of the public wish to have an item pulled? Any member of the board wish to have an item pulled? Okay,
I'll make a motion on consent.
I'll second.
Chairman Hayman,
aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director St. Amand,
Yes.
Director Itmeyer,
Aye.
Director Vallejo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next, due to time constraints, we're going to move item number 11. We're going to move it to the first agenda item here. It's approval of contract service agreement with Blue Mountain Development for support services for the imported water project. This will be let out with General Manager Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we are proposing, and you see in your packet a staff report, we are proposing that the board approve a contract with Blue Mountain Development, and this is to hire the services of a team for project management of our pipeline construction, coordinating with the transition to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The team would be led by project manager Omar Dandashi, and I think Omar is on the line. He wanted to be here today, but had a prior commitment that he couldn't miss, so we'll ask him to introduce himself here in a moment. But primarily, we wanted to bring this to you for consideration because Soon, our project will be transitioning to the Corps for construction, because that's how this project and the project funding is set up. We won't be issuing contracts and doing this ourselves. The Corps will be handling it. So we are proposing to have the Blue Mountain team handle the project management because they're experienced working with the Corps. There's a lot of differences in managing a project with the Corps rather than doing one through the Groundwater Authority or independently. And we think that Mr. Dandashi and his team would bring some valuable insight and some efficiencies, actually probably some considerable efficiencies, and understand what some of the issues are and how to resolve them expediently so that we can stay on the time frame. He would also assist us in working with our current contractor or consultant, Provost and Pritchard, to complete the design and to transition the project over to the Corps. There's a budget established of $220,000. The contract would take us through the end of December of 2026. But I can also tell you that there will be savings offsets in other areas, particularly with our water resources manager's time, because this will alleviate their need to do so much project management and coordination, so there'll be an offset there. And hopefully some efficiencies in transitioning with Provost and Pritchard to complete the design and move on to working with the Corps. And I'm happy to have our water resource managers team add to that, or Michael McKinney, who's also had experience working with Mr. Dandashi and his team. Or we can ask him, Mr. Dandashi, to introduce himself and give you a little introduction if you'd like to hear more about him.
That sounds good. Who do you want to start?
This is Steve. Michael, if you had something, that would be great. Michael McKinney? Maybe not.
Okay, why don't you go ahead, Steve?
Okay, I'll just mention, we certainly support Blue Mountain and Omar getting on board. As the board is aware, we've had some fairly significant issues come up very recently, on the environmental side of getting this pipeline moving, including focusing on issues with BLM and coordination with BLM on the requirements under the environmental requirements with some fairly significant change orders. And in addition to that, utility side, we've got Edison. We've gotten some changes and plans by Edison. They've taken us off track a little bit on where they want to bring power in and such. And these things are all very expensive. They're resulting in change orders. Blue Mountain and Omar brings a broad experience in both of these areas to help us contain these costs and get this stuff done right and help complete the design. So we're fully supportive. And as Carol mentioned, the transition into actual construction is huge. And this is an area where Blue Mountain and Omar also have a lot of expertise. So we are certainly supportive. Jeff, my guy, Jeff, did you want to add anything?
I don't have anything to add, Steve. That said it.
Okay, all right. Then maybe Omar. I think you're muted. I think you're muted, Omar.
I think I got it this time.
Okay.
So, I appreciate very much the introduction and very much look forward to working with the team to try to get this project through. I'm happy to answer any questions on my background, but just to give you a little bit more about myself, I'm a licensed civil engineer. Our firm, Blue Mountain, actually has projects that do complex kind of interactive components. We do a lot of work that includes everything from construction to supporting water agencies primarily in trying to focus on getting projects kind of off the table. We've done a considerable amount of program management. I think my last large program management project, which lasts, unfortunately, very much a long time, was about 15 years, and it was about $500 million. So our focus is really to integrate all the pieces that make this a very complex project into a successful construction project. We take a very big role in looking at everything from understanding the legislative components to it. That is not our area of expertise, but this is what we interface with. But we are very familiar with NEPA, CEQA, regulatory agencies, the civil engineering components that are necessary to build pipelines, and we also bring a wealth of construction background. Personally, myself, I've been working in construction management and with construction projects for probably the last 25 years. Everything from design build to working with the Army Corps on building environmental projects, as well as doing right-of-way acquisitions and working very closely with other agencies such as SCE. So that combined background with our team will actually provide, I'm hoping, the best possible outcome here, which is to have a successful project start at the end of next year. So let me know if I can answer any questions on my background. I'm very happy to do so, and I appreciate the accommodation for me to join virtually today. I have my wife and I are expecting our second child, and unfortunately I couldn't drive out with an appointment we had this morning for our daughter.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet with you today, and we'll bring it back to the board for any questions or comments that they may have for you.
Yeah, I'd just say great to meet you as well, and look forward to working with you, provided this passes today.
Thank you very much. It's very mutual.
Mr. Chair, I think it might be beneficial for us and the public to hear a little more from Steve on what work his company wouldn't need to do to kind of highlight the fact that we're not just adding expense to this project.
Yeah, sure, Director Vallejo. As I mentioned, review of the work that's currently being done is one of the starting points, but we are still in the thick of the environmental documentation and coordinating with BLM. I think that I'll just use Blue Mountain. Blue Mountain will be a tremendous asset to us and to Provost and Pritchard, coordinating that effort. So I think we're certainly going to be having Omar help us there. That'll be things that we won't be doing. We'll have Omar working on that. I mentioned the utilities, the Edison issues. There's a multitude of other things to look at to get this design completed. It's our view that having Blue Mountain and Omar on board here, I think there will be cost savings on our side. Stetson will be spending less time. I think there will be cost savings on, we're expecting cost savings on Provost and Pritchard's side to get things more efficiently done so we don't have change orders and we can get the design completed and reduce cost. And I think big picture, and this is for the ground with the authority altogether, I think there will be ultimately cost savings on the actual pipeline. The final design, we'll be looking at value engineering in the final design. There will be cost savings on the actual final pipeline design cost that will all be experienced by the Groundwater Authority. So those are the areas we're looking at saving costs going forward. I think I'm expecting that it will more than cover the cost of Blue Mountain on board.
And Stephen, we're also looking at the expertise of Blue Mountain in regards to working with the Army Corps of Engineers, correct? And their ability
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the goal at the end of this is to have a very, very efficient process in place between coordination of the Groundwater Authority and the Corps of Engineers, and Blue Mountain brings that to the table too. Absolutely.
Thank you. Director Vallejo, did that cover kind of what you were inferring it to there?
Yeah, it did.
Okay. Do we have any other comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, I will bring it to the public. Any public comment from the floor? No public comment from the floor. We'll bring it to the phones. Do we have any public comment on the phone lines? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. And if there's no further questions, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
Chairman Hayman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director Sadamond,
Abstain.
Director Itnire,
Aye.
Director Vallejo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to item number 9, Provost and Pritchard Environmental Change Order for Revegetation and Restoration Plan. This will be with Stetson and Bianca.
Hello, members of the board and the public. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So I'll just start off with some background. As you know, the authority has a contract with Provost and Pritchard for the environmental services for the imported water project. And the BLM is the federal lead agency for the project and maintains complete control over the environmental assessment. And as you know from most of Provost and Pritchard's previous change orders, in order to provide a strong environmental assessment, the BLM has required additional work to issue a special use permit and categorical exemption of the geotechnical borings within BLM land. This includes following the requirements of BLM's Desert Renewable Energy Conservation Plan, also called the DRECP for short. And since the DRECP normally applies to renewable energy projects, PMP was not aware of the need to follow the plan until after executing contracts with the authority and the BLM. PMP's existing budget was able to cover most of the additional requirements, but it was not able to cover a revegetation and restoration plan for the pipeline. So Provost and Pritchard have provided a change order for $15,000 to draft the revegetation and restoration plan. This is a 1% increase compared to the current contract sum, which would bring the total contract sum to approximately $1.54 million. This is approximately a 50% increase from the original contract sum, which, as I mentioned previously, was mostly due to BLM's additional requirements. So staff recommends that the board approve the change order for the additional $15,000 and revised contract sum of $1,541,114 under the environmental contract with Provost and Pritchard for the imported water project. If you have any questions, Stetson is available, and we also have PMP's environmental team available online. Their names are Jackie Lancaster and Mary Beth Bourne. Thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. Okay, we'll bring back to the board for any questions or comments.
Yeah, do we have a representative from Provost and Pritchard here?
And we have Jeff Davis here in the audience, although, Jeff, I don't know if you're prepared to address the environmental aspects or not.
Thank you, Carol, Mr. President, and members of the board. I'm really here to represent the engineering aspect, which I think is the next item on the agenda. I'm representing the company, but I'm not really prepared to answer very specific questions about the environmental, Jackie, and I think Mary Beth can do that, and probably should.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the floor for public comment. Any public comment on the floor?
Yes, Judy Decker, wearing my Eastern Kern County Resource Conservation District hat. I'm not sure what is planned for revegetation on this project, but there are companies available locally, not locally in Ridgecrest, but in the general greater area, who are experts at doing vertical mulching revegetation, which is a much more cost-effective and much more effective way to revegetate the soils that have been disturbed in our desert. We, the RCD, have a grant, and we are going to be revegetating the disturbed areas outside of the 10 BLM guzzlers in the El Pasos next year. If you would like that information, I strongly urge you to call our RCD office or email them and contact Nancy Gooch, who is our administrative assistant. And I offer it to you because it is effective and it is cost effective also. And at this point in this project, you need some cost effectiveness.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you, Judy, for that information. I agree with you, and I would like to ask if staff, just as part of developing this plan, would reach out and get some more information on that.
We'll make a note of that and make sure it happens.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment from the floor? Any public comment on the phones? Okay, we'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
Chairman Hayman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director St. Amand,
Abstain.
Director Itnire,
Aye.
Director Vallejo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to item number 10, Provost and Pritchard design change order for trenchless crossing and corrosion design. And again, that will be with Stetson and Bianca.
Alrighty. So for this item, as you know, the authority has a contract for the design of the project with Provost and Pritchard. Currently, Provost and Pritchard is working on the 90% level for design. As discussed in the previous item, the BLM has required additional work to permit geotechnical investigations on their land. This has caused the investigations to be performed later than expected. And so once the results were ready, this led to modifications to the design. So Provost and Pritchard have provided a change order to address these modifications. And this change order has two items. The first item is to complete trenchless crossing design at the 90% level. Originally, Provost and Pritchard's scope of work assumed 9 trenchless crossings, which was based on the project's alignment study. After they were able to gather geotechnical results as well as scour analyses results, it was determined that 7 jack and bore crossings and 9 horizontal directional drill crossings are required for a total of 16 crossings. So they're requesting an additional budget of $69,338 for 7 additional crossings that were not originally accounted for in the original scope of work. The second item they are requesting for is for completion of corrosion design at the 90% level. Originally, their scope of work assumed 4 pump stations with 4 bays that were to be similar to standard wet well facilities. It also included 1 tank at the Ridgecrest Heights tank facility as a terminus tank. At the preliminary level of design, it was determined that tanks were better than wells as 4 bays. And so at the 90% level, it was determined that 3 pump stations with 5 total 4-bay tanks, 1 regulating tank at the high point, and then the terminus tank, the 1 terminus tank were required, which now totals to 7 tanks that require corrosion design as opposed to the 1 tank that required corrosion design in the original scope of work. So Provost and Pritchard is requesting an additional budget of $89,666 for the corrosion design of the 6 additional tanks. In total, the change order requests $159,004. This is a 2% increase compared to the current contract sum, bringing the total to $6.79 million. Compared to the current contract sum, compared to the original contract sum, that is a 5% increase from the original budget. And similar to the previous item, these increases were largely due to additional work required by the BLM for a special use permit and categorical exclusion of the geotechnical borings. So staff recommends that the board approve the change order under the design contract for an increase of $159,004 and a revised contract sum of $6,792,598. If anyone has any questions, Stetson is available and Jeff Davis is available in person, and we also have Mike McGovern online as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I'd like to hear from Provost and Pritchard about this.
Sure. Any specific questions or?
I just would like to get some more perspective, just some background from
Sure.
Provost and Pritchard
Sure.
on this.
So we're engineers, and we like to make decisions based on facts and information. And so, as Bianca mentioned, we were delayed in getting our geotechnical report done for this project, delayed by a year, having to deal with some other issues. But once we got the geotechnical information, we got better information for design, right? So when we wrote the proposal, we had done the original alignment study, and we had a good feel for the alignment, and we felt like there were probably 9 places where we needed to use trenchless crossings. After we got the geotechnical report and did a scour study on that, we found a number of other places where it made sense to us to do a trenchless crossing of an existing dry creek bed. And I think in one case, in discussions with the Kern County Department of Transportation, they recommended that we go to a trenchless as opposed to a trench crossing. So based on the scour study, the geotechnical study, and discussions with Kern County, we determined that we would need an additional 7 trenchless crossings for the project. Trenchless crossings, you're basically doing the same thing, except instead of having an open trench, you're essentially drilling underneath a creek bed or a road or whatever. For the corrosion, again, we had a good feel for the project based on our alignment study, but the hydraulics of a 50-mile pipeline are pretty tricky. Think about it this way. We're connecting to an existing distribution system that has existing flows and existing pressures, and we're tying into another distribution system that has its own pressures and flows, and you got to tie those together with a 50-mile pipeline and a bunch of pump stations and pumping over mountains. So once you get into the design, you find out it's a little bit more complex than you thought when you did the alignment study. So we always knew we were going to use 4-bay tanks at the pump stations. That was never an issue. We were assuming that we would just use large concrete tanks, just underground tanks, just like they do, as Bianca said, in wastewater treatment plants. As we looked at the hydraulics, particularly the hydraulic modeling, and got additional information from AVAC, what we found out that these tanks need to be so big that it's not financially feasible to really make these underground concrete tanks. Far more cost effective to make them above ground tanks that you can build separately. So it saves us on the design, it saves us on the construction. So you just have more storage than you needed at the pump stations. And then there is one tank at the high point of the line. We're putting that tank in essentially to protect the line, because when you go over a mountain and start going down, you can have all kinds of problems pulling vacuums in that line, and you can destroy your pipeline. So we're putting a tank up there, which will also require some corrosion protection. It doesn't make sense to put tanks in anywhere unless you can protect them from corrosion. Because if you've got these large tanks and a large tank fails, that's not a good thing. You've got a lot of water going all over the place. So we're doing 2 things here. We're doing additional trenchless crossings, and we're doing corrosion for tanks that we did not know we would need when we wrote the proposal.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board for Jeff? Okay. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate it. We'll now go to the public. Any public comment from the floor? Any public comment on the phones? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board for any final questions or a motion.
Make a motion on staff's recommendation.
Second.
Chairman Hayman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters,
Aye.
Director St. Amand,
Abstain?
Director Itnire,
Aye.
and Director Vallejo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to item number 12, Water Resources Manager Report, and that will be with Steve and Stetson.
Chairman, I believe Steve had another meeting. He's in transit right now, so I'll give highlights of the Water Resource Manager Report.
Thank you, Jeff.
Under our Sigma IP grant, we've received almost $500,000 that we had invoiced previously to DWR, and the Groundwater Authority has submitted an invoice for almost $600,000 to be reimbursed for expenses on the pipeline. Under the Urban Community Grant Program, we've received, which is for the consolidation projects, we've received invoices from the Water District for the work they've done on the Rademacher consolidation, the construction of the pipeline that they did. We're reviewing those and we'll be submitting those to DWR. On the imported water project, we talked a little bit about Steve did about during the change order, or I'm sorry, about the Blue Mountain item, about Southern California Edison. They're late in their design, which is important to get incorporated into both the pipeline design and into the environmental review. So that's one of the things Provost and Pritchard is working on, is meeting with Edison and keeping that design going. And we talked about the Corps and what the Corps' involvement will be in the construction of the pipeline. We had a kickoff meeting with the Corps on that subject last month that went very well. And so the timing to get Blue Mountain involved is very good. They have the experience with this, and I think we will have efficiencies in incorporating the core requirements with access to Omar's experience on that. On our data and water quality management, there wasn't much activity this last month, but we will be doing the fall water level and water quality monitoring in September. In about 3 weeks, I think we're going to start that. Rose Valley, there's no real update. Steve did want me to go back to an item at the last meeting when Steve reported on the Rose Valley. We're putting in, under the Navy COSO funding, we're putting in 2 monitoring wells to help us estimate what the underground flow is coming out of Rose Valley into the Indian Wells Valley. Dr. Decker had commented on that he thought a seismic survey, a geophysical seismic survey, would give us a good information on the formation of the basin in that point. Steve wanted me to point out that we had submitted a seismic survey as a Navy COSO funded project. It wasn't accepted by them. We actually are talking to the Army Corps of Engineers about potentially doing it under their planning assistance to state programs. So we just wanted to get it out there. And the reason we've submitted this is because Dr. Decker had told us previously that would be a valuable thing to do. So we are out trying to get a study funded when there's a place to try and get some funds for that. And that concludes my report. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jeff. I just have a quick question on just a brief overview of the Rose Valley and the wells, where we stand on what's been drilled or remains to be drilled.
Yes, we were able to drill one of the wells. We went to drill the second well at that location, and the formation, just refused drilling. We couldn't get it completed. So we've spent some time, and Dr. Decker was involved in this, selected an alternative site to drill, and we've been going through the permitting process on that. We need permits from the Bureau of Land Management. Frankly, we've got them pretty busy working on our pipeline project. So the monitoring well, I don't think, has been a high priority with them, but that's where we're at right now, is getting our permitting and our a process is, for environmental protection, okayed by them to move forward with that.
Okay, and the alternative site is approximately where?
Ooh.
And if you don't have that answer, that's okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have a reference for you.
Okay. No,
on where that's.
We'll get to that later. We're in the permitting process, so very good. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the board. Any questions or comments for Jeff? None? Okay. Public comment from the floor.
Good afternoon, Board. I'm Don Decker. Am I on here?
Yes.
One of the things about the Little Lake Gap area is that one reason I suggested a seismic survey is that much of the area is covered with a huge landslide. I have not heard basically anyone except myself talking about that for years. That material that you see on the west side as you go through the gap is not undisturbed metamorphic rock at all. It is metamorphic rock that has been landslided down over the top of the original surface material, and a lot of the area that we would really like to explore as far as water, a water path is underneath of that slide, and the wells that we can drill cannot really be done from the surface on that slide. It's too steep, and it's loose material. It's totally disturbed. It's cubic miles, literally, of alluvial material that has come down from above. It was probably triggered by a huge earthquake. We don't know that for sure, but that's probably what created it. So the seismic examination can be done on that with the sensors on that surface, and the well cannot be. So what you guys really need to be talking about is, in fact, what I've been suggesting, the shallow seismic work is essential if you're going to actually explore that area. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Any other public comment from the floor? Do we have any public comment on the phones? Seeing none, we will now move to the general manager's report with Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry to say that we do not have a monthly financial report, and that is, again, due to the Kern County transition of its accounting system. And they had advised us that information wouldn't be available until September, and they were right on target. It has not been available for us, and in fact, some of it was actually wiped out because they were looking at a different fiscal year for us. But we're working with them to resolve those issues, and because they do indicate that September, the new system should be up and running, we do expect to have an up-to-date financial statement for September. I do want to indicate that with regard to the 2023 audit, that will be, it's been promised to be on our agenda for presentation at our next meeting in September. I do want to say, though, that it was considerably delayed because of issues that we had trying to clarify the water district's credit and accounting and to work through that before we submitted information to our auditor. We really needed to be able to explain the accounting and the credit and how it worked, and it took a while. April did considerable work with the financial manager at the Water District, and we had some meetings, and it took several months, but we were able to be satisfied with the information that we had. All of the information is with the auditor, and we do expect to see that next month, and then the 2024 audit should follow shortly behind, targeted for no later than the end of the year.
Carol, I have a question on what was the amount of that credit?
I want to say, was it 1.4, April? 1.4 million,
Okay.
which is a pretty big number to explain to an auditor.
Yes.
Let's see, next item is our outreach update. Recall last month, we had a discussion on social media policy, a Facebook page, and you'll see that we did not bring that back to you yet. This month, our consultant had prepared a draft social media policy, and we had legal counsel review it, and they had several questions and issues that they wanted to see further addressed. So we expect to be able to bring something back to you next month for consideration. So that's still pending. Also working on the new website, and April's been working with our consultant on that, and we're hoping, not going to guarantee it, but we're hoping that we might even be able to have a transition demonstration at the next meeting to show you all what it looks like and what's new. And so shortly thereafter, too, we'll be working with our consultant on adding some of those components that our PAC had recommended would be great to have on the website, some of the fact sheets and FAQs and things like that. So we'll be working to get our website loaded up with helpful information for the community. Let's see, transient pool, we've heard that there should be a transfer form to be received on the transient pool, and we understand Mojave Pistachios is going to be doing that transfer. We haven't seen it yet. It's on the agenda because we thought we might have the form just to let you know. But at this point, we just know that we understand that it's coming. And then finally, I'll see if Michael McKinney can give us a report on Capital Core Group's activities. I know you weren't able to give us a report to put in the packet, but maybe you can give us a brief update.
Much to report, Carol, beyond what was reported during the last board meeting. What has taken place in that time is a meeting with U.S. Army Corps LA Division has taken place regarding the transition from planning to construction on the pipeline. They are beginning to unpack what is a very large planning document and all of the documents associated with the water replenishment pipeline, and are getting back to us with various questions, of course, and probable ways of going about this and moving forward on it. So they are beginning to do that work, and we are beginning to look at working on a first-year budget. Legislatively, Sacramento has been out since mid-July, excuse me, and Washington, D.C. has been out since the early part of August, and they will resume respectively next week in Sacramento, and then September the 8th in Washington, D.C. There is a new bill that we added on the federal level to the watch list. It is a funding bill for infrastructure projects. Also, DWR announced yesterday that it is beginning work on the Proposition 4 funding, the $2.7 billion that it will allocate in Prop 4 funds for this particular fiscal year. So we expect to see new regulations, new priorities, and new potential programs that the city or the authority can come after, and we'll report on those as they become available.
Okay, so that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, the fiscal year for the Groundwater Authority ends in what month?
It's the calendar year,
So it's calendar year, so your fiscal year would begin in January.
correct?
Okay, so it's my understanding that the audits usually take about 6 months, so the earliest we might have expected the audit would then be July of 2024.
The earliest.
Okay, so now we're in July 2025, and so it's been a year, roughly a year delay, and that is all because of the confusion over accounting and credit with the water district, is that correct?
I would say largely due to that.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about that, please?
Well, I'll let April give you some details. She worked directly with your finance manager.
Okay,
Right, so in 2024, we received an email from the Water District requesting a $1.4 million credit.
okay,
Understandably, that is going to take some back and forth between our agencies in understanding where the reconciliation of $1.4 million comes from. That was for payments made in 21, 22, and 23. So that wasn't reconciled until 2024. We talked about it for a few months, and then Ty sent me a spreadsheet. I believe it came from your auditors. The spreadsheet was very difficult to understand, so Ty and I went back and forth for quite some time, and we actually didn't get a final spreadsheet until April of this year.
okay,
So that takes time between Ty and I, and also to be able to explain a $1.4 million credit to our auditors, I had to fully understand where the reconciliation came from and why we're now asking for a credit from 21, 22, and 23 in the year of 2024.
all right, and those credits are generally due to decreased pumping by the water district. The fees, I think, are set in advance, and if we don't pump as much as was estimated, I believe that's where the credit request comes from.
Right, so previously Don Zadiba would make a payment schedule for you guys. You collect your replenishment fee as a pass-through fee for your customers, however, it was not paid that way to us, which I believe is where we came into this reconciliation issue. It's no longer paid that way, so I don't think we should have this issue in the future.
Right, so really
That's the plan.
the issue is that the idea for handling credits wasn't worked out before the payment process went into place. And now that we've worked that out, we should expect a more regular and timely delivery of audits, is that right?
Ideally, that would be the case. We expect the 2024 to be delivered but shortly after the completion of 2023. As I said, I expect it to be before the end of this year. Once that occurs, we'll be back on track, and we'll begin the 2025 audit after the close of the fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question in regards to that. So with the water district, are you saying that the water district has worked out their internal issues as to overcharging the $1.4 million to the ratepayers? And with that, are you going to look at how do you reconcile that?
So we'll have to ask you, I'll refer you to Ty, but I will say I resent the implication that it was an overcharge to the ratepayers. We don't keep that money. That's a direct pass-through from the water district to the groundwater authority based on the original arrangement with the groundwater authority for estimating what the payments will be for the coming year. And as it turned out, the water district has not been pumping more water with each year. It's actually been pumping less water with each year. And if I understand Ms. Quigan and the manager, or general manager, the issues with dealing with using less water, not more, have now been worked out between the two staff and shouldn't be an issue in the future.
Just to revisit that as well, I think that is one of the main reasons we had requested, and you guys had finally agreed to stop doing the payment schedule, so we would no longer run into this issue. And the discrepancy between what's collected versus what they're paying based on their own payment schedule, it was just hard to reconcile on my end, obviously, because I don't have your internal accounting. So when I just get a spreadsheet requesting $1.4 million credit, I have to fully understand where that came from. And that did take quite some time. So Ty and I went back and forth, and he can show you the emails as well. We had a final agreement from a spreadsheet that I actually ended up making, just because I couldn't understand The auditor one just had too much on it. It had a lot of your billing structure, which isn't relevant to my accounting.
Okay.
And so I ended up drafting a spreadsheet. I sent it over to Ty, and we got the final agreement on it in April. But there's no way I could move forward with an audit until the district agrees, yes, your accounting is correct, and it agrees with our accounting.
Right, that's all.
Public funds, we gotta
It's a lot
follow
of
it.
work, it's understandable, thank you.
Well, and thank you, April, for taking the initiative to identify that and to reconcile it with the water district. So, okay, that's all I had. Any other questions from the board?
No, sir.
Okay. Do we have any public comment from the floor? Seeing none. Nope, we do have public comment from the floor. Go ahead, Judy.
Yes. Judy Decker, my question is for Michael McKinney, if he's still there. I would like to know the changes, the amendments that have occurred with AB 1466.
Judy, I am here. There have been several changes to 1466 as amended on July 17th. The those were cleanup amendments. 1 second, Judy, while I catch up. I apologize.
That's quite all right. I'm going to sit down and take notes.
June 26th was the last substantive amendments to AB 1466, and I did put those in our last update on this. These were the amendments that talked about setting up a minor qualities of extraction. So it set up different tiers of extractors from de minimis, expanding essentially the court's purview on how it would or would not look at de minimis. These were amendments that were proposed by opposition and were approved or agreed to by the proponents of the bill. My understanding, however, is that the administration has some concerns with these amendments and is going to be proposing clarifying amendments on that. I do owe you an email, and I will send you an email on the exact analysis of these. And that exact analysis I'm going to lift straight from my memorandum that I presented to both the city and the Groundwater Authority last month.
Thank you very much, Michael.
You bet.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you, Michael. Any public comments from the phone? Okay, seeing none. The date of our next meeting will be September 10th, 2025, and with that, this meeting is adjourned.